Welcome back down to the workshop. Decided today to try something that I haven't done before. Basically, this is my Ross gasless MIG welder, 150 amp. Basically, this is what I use on my mobile welding rig. It comes with me and does everything I need to do out and about. It takes the mini spools, the little 1 kilo spools, and it will also take one of these, which is a 4.5 kilo spool, 200 millimeters in diameter. So I've never run that before. It's just a normal gasless wire, the same as I run with the other. That gives an indication of the size of the spool there. It's quite a bit bigger, so there's still a bit left on that, so I'm obviously not going to throw that away. What I'll do is I'll wind that back onto the spool. Basically, all you need to do is undo the wire tensioner in the feeder there. Take the tension off it, release that up, and that takes up that releases the tension. So then it's just a matter of unwinding it back onto the spool. So we'll do that. So I've extended the MIG gun out in length, out to the right there. And basically, now that I've relieved the tension off the rollers, take the tension off our reel. And then we just start binding up a bit. Hang on, let's have a look at that. Shouldn't be that tight. Alright, it appears as though our wire's burnt back into the tip the last time I used it. I don't recall that happening, but it appears as though that's what's happened. So we'll back that off. It's pretty tight. Okay. Yeah, that's burnt back into the tip there. As you can see, she's well and truly welded in. So we'll nip that off. Going to put a new tip on anyhow. So there we go. There's our tip free. See if we can wind that reel up now. There we go. A lot better. I just sort of hold those earplugs that I run on the wire to clean it. I just hold a bit of tension on that because you don't want to let this go. Otherwise you end up what's called a bird's nest, which is wire everywhere. So it's about 2.5 meters long for our liner. So we're basically saving that amount of wire rather than cut it off here at the spool end. We'll save that, and that's nothing wrong with that. We can run that straight back through the gun and use it as normal when we go to use this smaller spool. Takes a little while to wind it off, but I think we're getting closer now. You feel at the end there, when you're getting close, the resistance is really a lot easier. So it's going to come through any tick now. There we go. It's important to hold tension once again on your wire so it doesn't take off. And there's little holes in the side of the spools that you can feed it through, and just gently bend it back over itself. There you go. That keeps it secure in the spool. That can then be taken off the hub. A little tension spring there that gives you tension against your spool. So we'll take that off. That retains it. Just put all those bits in the bottom there so we don't lose them. There we go. There's our roll of wire. There's still Doesn't feel overly heavy, but there's still, you know, still a good few metres of wire there, so good to hang on to for another day. Let's open up our new spool. Alright, just taking our new 4.5 kilo spool out of the box. As you can see, it comes packaged in foil. Basically it's a plastic foil packet that keeps it sealed, keeps it fresh, keeps the rust off it. So we'll crank that out, get that open, and then have a look at our reel. Right, yeah, we've got that out of its foil packet, and as you can see, that's the reel we've just taken out. It's saved for later, and that's the new reel that we're going to attempt to put in our welder in its place. So as you can see, there's, you know, massive difference. 3 times the wire on that, I believe. It's the same diameter, 0.8 millimeters. That seems to run quite well in this thing. So let's get it mounted up. As I say, it was in the foil package. It also comes with a paper wrapping over the top of the spool. That's just a bit more protection for the wire, just to, you know, keep any rust and contaminants off it until you can get it home and etc. So let's get it fitted up into the machine. As you can see in here, this is a step collar. Smaller section on here designed to hold the centre of the spindle of the old spool. This larger outer diameter here is what we want to fit up on our larger diameter here. It's very important to make sure that you check the orientation of how the wire's coming off the reel. Check the orientation of how it comes off the reel. You want it coming from the bottom, so that it can be run along the bottom there and feed into the wire feeder. So let's get that in place. It should sit, there we go. It sits up on that little step. We then fit our collar, same collar that we use to retain our smaller spool. That goes on there, that fits in there nicely like that. We then put in our spring, which gives us our tension on our spool. And the nut to capture it. There we go. We don't want it up too tight at this point in time, we just want enough to hold our spool in place. So we can do it up a little bit firmer, so it will sort of help with us a bit. It's too tight to operate, but tight enough for what we want to do now. Next step is to locate the wire. It's on the reel there. Not sure if you can see that. So we take that off, we nip that off so we've got a straight run. Then we feed in through our roller there. So I'll grab some pliers and we'll do that. Okay, so carefully take our wire out of here. It's important not to let it go, so we don't end up with a bird's nest before we even begin. So as we can see, we've got a bit of a kink on the end there, so we want to get rid of that, so we've got a nice straight run. Clip that off like so. Give ourselves a little bit of room to work. Then we want to put our earplugs back on. As I said in a previous video, it helps to sort of scrub the wire as it comes off the spool before it goes into the liner. I think it just, you know, it tends to just, if there is any surface contaminants on it, just run it through those 2 old earplugs there, and that tends to yeah, give it a bit of a scrub on its way through. We then feed that into the tube, which guides it on through to our drive rollers. There we go, that's coming out there. Now we need to feed it into the actual liner itself, which is just beyond that roller. Bit of a fiddly thing to do. There we go. That's starting to feed in through there now. Keeping tension on our on our wire. Okay, make sure that that wire is sitting in the groove of our roller, which it is. Drop our tensioner down and clip it up. And we've got tension on that now. Now that's ready for basically to be powered up and to start feeding our new wire through our MIG gun. So we'll do that now. Okay, we've got our machine powered on. There's our wire exiting the bottom of the spool through our old earplugs into the guide tube, through the roller, and then into the liner of the gun in there. So we'll start feeding that through. Earplugs stay in place, wire roller guides it through. Yep, looking good. There it is. There's our new wire run through our tip. Actually, we haven't got a tip in there. That's just the end of the gun where the tip would go. Not sure if that's going to focus for you. No, maybe not. But let's get a new tip, screw that on, and we're pretty much done. Okay, got our new contact tip ready to go. Just a little 0.8 millimeter to suit our wire. Not sure if we can get a focus on that. There we go. It's a bit hard to see the numbers, but you'll have to trust me. It's a 0.8, and that just screws onto the end of our MIG gun. So we'll feed it over the wire. She's a bit stuck. There we go. So a bit of a burr in the end of that one. Under the end of our gun there. We'll just tighten that up. I usually just go basically firm, finger tight. I find that's more than enough. Now all we need to do is snip off our wire. So you can see it's a bit long. So we'll snip that off to length first of all. Put on our gas shroud. I mean, this being gasless, we don't really need to use a gas shroud. What I do like to do though is I always use it in place because it helps me sort of determine the amount of wire stick out that I've got when I'm welding. As you can see it there, it sits just inside that shroud. So I like to keep the shroud on for that reason, just so that I can get a good determination of how much wire is actually coming out, and it also protects from the tip actually grounding to your work at times. If you weld without it and you accidentally touch that tip onto your workpiece that you're welding, sometimes that tip will weld itself to what you're welding, and that's less than ideal. So there we go. That, in a nutshell, is how you go about loading a MIG welding machine with a new spool of wire. That's usually the ideal amount of stick out that I go for. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Yeah, feel free to subscribe, and yeah, please leave me a like, and stay tuned for more in the future. Thanks again.